So this is a new material called MettleWood. This is a before and after. What we're doing is taking all of the fiber that's in the wood and we're densifying it to 1/5 its original volume.
So this started this thick?
Yes.
Tell me more.
What happens is we're taking all the air out of the wood, essentially, right? And inside wood, there's a substance called lignin. Lignin is a natural glue that holds cellulose fiber together. Think about a bunch of straws if you were holding them.
Sure.
The straws transport water in the tree. We're collapsing all those straws. The lignin, we're softening it, allowing us to compress it, and then it repolymerizes, it resolidifies into the glue it was, and it becomes stronger than steel. The difference in the darkness here is lignin is actually a naturally dark substance. So when you concentrate it, the concentration comes out and it stains the wood. This is 100% wood. It's not
That's wild.
And it's stronger than steel.
So how do you do this?
With heat, and we saturate it with liquid.
Yep.
And that liquid allows the lignin to soften.
Okay.
We then put it into a high pressure press.
Yep.
And we put it under intense pressure. It's kind of like anytime you take carbon and densify it, it becomes stronger, like carbon to diamonds, right?
Sure.
So all we've done is taken carbon, densified it. When you densify it, it forms exponentially more bonds between the fibers. That's what gives it its strength.
Got it.
So the example we have right here is a laminated beam. Okay? So feel this.
Oh my God. That's here. Let me get this. I need 2 hands for this. This is almost as heavy as a piece of steel.
What we're looking at is taking individual boards that have been densified and laminating them together into a structural beam. So our goal is to go after steel and aluminum with 100%
in a way
material.
that doesn't rely on any mining.
Exactly.
Love it.
We can make this from low-cost FSC or SFI certified wood. This is made out of poplar. We can actually make it out of any species.
I noticed there are like regular marks here. What's that
so
from?
this is made on our lab press. Our lab press has a vented platen, so the moisture comes out of it.
Yep.
And that's what those marks are from.
Okay.
The production press won't have that.
And what thickness did each of these boards start as?
1 inch.
Wow. What's the strength of this compared to comparable steel?
We have a 550 megapascal tensile strength in the grain direction. This is the grain direction.
Right.
Try to bend this in this direction.
Oh, in that direction.
Would have that. Or you could have it in this direction as well.
Okay.
It can go in either one. What we're trying to do is replace steel beams and columns. So if you think about the mass timber revolution that's happening in our country right now, which is a fantastic development in engineering, actually in construction.
Tell me about what this is, because I'm not...
Well, mass timber is building tall buildings with wood.
Oh.
Problem with it is volume.
Sure.
So we've taken the mass and we've reduced the volume. We've solved that problem.
Amazing.
To build tall buildings, just like you would with steel, it's half the cost to produce of steel or aluminum, and obviously the CO2 footprint is a net negative. So it's
this is
a great environmental.
This is a great example of carbon capture, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Because of the light weight of this, we've actually been able to take peeled thick veneers of wood and densify them down to thin veneers and make honeycomb. So this is an example of a honeycomb. So this is 1/32 of an inch thick veneer. And if I put this on the floor, this has higher compressive strength than aluminum. If you put your foot flat on top and take your weight off.
Amazing.
And it's 1/32 of an inch. This can go into airplanes, walls, into anything where you want compressive strength.
So you do like engineered wall panels out of this?
We're actually talking to companies that do concert halls. So we're looking at ways that we can utilize the strength of the wood but also still have the acoustic value.
Sure.
But I think it has more application in things like doors, door cores. Wherever you have an aluminum honeycomb today, you could essentially do this with a negative CO2 footprint and half the cost.
That's awesome.
We just have to learn how to mass produce it.
Well, that was my next question is what?
So we're building a facility right now in Frederick, Maryland.
Okay.
It's our pilot plant. We're going to produce 1 million square feet of this a year. The whole project is to show that we can actually manufacture it in
Amazing.
And
you're going to start with structural or honeycomb?
No, we're going to actually start with siding. This is an example of a poplar board that we've turned into.
Yeah, I recognize that from Home Depot.
Yep.
Sure.
So this is the siding. So a lap siding that will go on. And by the way, it's ESTM E84 fireproof.
And what does that mean?
That means it's non-combustible, chars and self-extinguishes.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's bulletproof.
Just comparing the look of these two, like this looks super finished and polished.
So what you can see is that grain actually stays.
Sure.
In the densified
It just gets
wood.
darker.
It just gets darker. Yeah.
We always think of darker wood as sort of higher quality and higher, you know.
Yeah, like oak
higher
or
finish.
teak
Sure.
or
I mean,
mahogany.
it looks almost like a teak.
Yeah. This one here, by the way, is going to replace aluminum tubes. There are architects that design emergency shelters for disaster relief, and they build buildings out of these paper tubes. And we can now take wood and make much, much stronger buildings and provide.
And so can you do like engineered composites like you would for a bicycle or something like that, where you're doing non-regular forms?
Yeah, we can actually three-dimensionally press the veneer. So we can press the veneer into whatever shape we want, like the honeycomb, for example. And then we can laminate those veneers together and make a solid, like a roof for a Tesla car or, you know, automotive components.
So anywhere you would use like a carbon fiber or a fiberglass composite, you can use this?
Yes.
That's amazing.
We believe that the world will eventually be moving back to wooden buildings.
Yeah.
And we believe that this technology is actually going to be a step toward securing that future.
What's the name of your company and where's your
our company is called InventWood, and we're out of Maryland. We were actually a spin-off from the University of Maryland. And we're now a private company building in Frederick, Maryland, an hour out of DC.
Awesome. Yeah. And where's your funding from?
We received a grant from ARPA-E, the Department of Energy, because of the carbon nature of this store. And we've been super grateful to ARPA-E. They've been wonderful to work with, but they've provided the funding for us to really perfect the laboratory and now the funds to build this pilot plant. And now we've got some private investors coming on board as well. And we're hoping that the company will eventually be self-sustaining, right?
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I want to quickly address some comments from the last video. Some people are upset that I released an interview with people in the current White House administration or even attended the event at all. First off, it's super cool I got invited. How could I not go? The policies they discussed I thought were interesting, and getting to ask questions from my perspective and from what I think yours might be seemed really valuable. And like it or not, as engineers and technically minded folks, our work and hobbies are affected by politics. Do you wish you could visit your local electronics markets or hate that it takes 2 weeks to get a PCB made where you live? Shenzhen's amazing electronics markets and manufacturing ecosystem exist because of government policy. This stuff matters and it affects us all. Some of you were also upset that I talked with a spokesperson from the current administration. Now, were you mad that I talked to their guy instead of yours? But I'll be honest, if the previous administration had invited me, I likely would have gone too. Hearing about policies and the government's approach to innovation and manufacturing is important, no matter who's currently sitting behind the desk in that Oval Room. We did pretty heavily moderate the comments on the last video. I don't think there's much value in seeing comments like screw this guy or screw that guy or propaganda. I've always tried to keep the comment section a place for healthy conversation, and if you just want to throw insults, your comment was probably deleted. But if you had something nuanced to say about the policies, it was welcome, even if I disagree with it. Lastly, some folks said, I didn't subscribe to this channel to hear about politics. I subscribed for entertainment and cool technology, and that rings true. I get it. I felt like I needed to release that video to give context for the others from the event, showing all of the cool tech I saw. But I do understand why that video wasn't what you signed up for. And I'm not promising I'll never touch on politics again, but I can promise it won't be a regular thing. That being said, the current administration just announced a number of new tariffs on China, including on solar panels, advanced batteries, and electric vehicles. But depending on your news sources, you might have heard different stories or missed it entirely, which is why I love my sponsor, Ground News. It's a website and app to help you break out of your filter bubble and understand media bias. Every story comes with a visual breakdown of political bias, factuality, and ownership, backed by ratings from 3 independent news organizations. On Ground News, we can see that story on these new tariffs has been reported on by over 240 news outlets. 31% lean left, while only 15% lean right. You can also see the factuality and ownership information of these outlets. For example, 53% of the reporting outlets are owned by media conglomerates. And one of my favorite parts is the ability to compare headlines to see how these biases affect coverage. For this story, left-leaning news tended to dive into the rationale behind the tariffs, while right-leaning news focused more on China's strategic use of trade to foster its growth. Being a curious person, I really try and see issues from multiple sides and hear why people with opposing views think what they do. And in a world of filter bubbles, it's important to see what other people who aren't me are seeing. And because of that, I particularly like the blind spot feature that shows me stories that I probably missed based on my usual news sources. In fact, I believe that Ground News is so useful that I'm offering 40% off their Vantage subscription. You can only access this discount through my link, so go to ground.news/strangeparts or click the link in the video description below and support an independent news platform working to make the media landscape more transparent. Thanks again to Ground News for being a sponsor, and I'll see you again soon.